Welcome back, team. Today we are continuing our journey into routing. In the last video, we looked at this challenge, the countries challenge from Frontend Mentor. Okay. And you can go through here, click on stuff, see some stuff. You'll even see the URL change a little bit, right? We can even click through some of these other ones. It will update. We can go back. We can search. We can do a bunch of stuff. And the key is that it all happens on the client side, which means that if I go and search, it happens in the browser. If I go and change the filters or the dark and light mode, it all happens in the browser. And if I click on a link, that happens in the browser too. And what I mean by that is it sends a fetch to our API, REST countries API, and gets back that data and then updates the UI in the browser. Okay. Everything happens client side, everything, which means that once you download it once, you no longer need a server. The server can be taken away. And so long as the page exists here, it should just continue to work. Doesn't always work like that, but the theory is sound. Okay. The challenge that we saw at the end of the last video was that if I go and view page source, we get a whole lot of nothing. Okay. In the dev tools, you'll see everything. But if you view page source, this is the actual source of the code that we wrote. Okay. So we set up that file. We set up an empty div with an ID of root. And if a search engine was to stop by and visit our app, they would see nothing. And if they see nothing, they're going to go, I'm good here. And they will move on. And you will never get your site indexed, which is kind of a problem, right? It depends on your app. But if I was building a web page, I would really want to be in search. So we should take care of that. And the way that we do that is with server-side rendering. So this is client-side. Now we're going to look at server-side. So over to my terminal here, wherever you create your projects, we're going to start by running a command, okay? This is going to be npm create vite at latest, and we're going to give it a name of rest countries, just like this, spell it right, dash server side, okay? Name it whatever you want. It's okay, okay? I'm going to name it this today. I'm going to hit enter. The thing that I really like about this one command is that I get access to all of these different frameworks, okay? All these different libraries, all these different frameworks, they're all in here. There's Quick, there's Solid, there's React, there's Vue, there's even vanilla JavaScript. There is Lit if you're doing web components. Cool stuff, okay? Today we're going to go with React, so right to there, hit enter. And again, we get a bunch of options. Some of these are even very new, right? Like Redwood STK. I've only just started hearing about that at the time of this video. So fun times, okay? We are going to use React Router, which we used last time. Again, it's version 7. If I really wanted to, I could have just typed out this command, right? So create Vite is actually giving us shortcuts to these other ones. So behind the scenes, it will run this command, okay? But because I only need to remember this one command, I get access to everything. So I still prefer Vite for this, okay? I'm going to hit enter. It's going to go through the process. Do I want Git? Yes. Do I want to install? Can't run it without dependencies, so yes, okay? And while it's doing that, I want to answer the question of why not next, okay? Because what we're doing here is we're actually creating Remix, and I'll explain that in a second, but why not next, okay? At the end of the day, in this video, I wanted to show the comparison between what we did client-side and what we're doing server-side. And the best way to do that was to do the exact same thing, right? So because we're using React Router, again, it should be very easy to see some of those differences. You'll see that it loads very fast. It's already done. I'm still talking, right? And it's very comfortable, right? You'll see a lot of the same stuff that we did client side, but now it will be server side, which is just really cool. So Next, very popular. The other thing too that I've found is Remix and Next are kind of on parallel tracks. So they keep kind of taking stuff from each other as they go along. Maybe not quite like that, but that's how it feels to me. That's how it feels to me. And so they're both developing in tandem, right? And a lot of the features that you'll see are very, very similar. Okay, what you learn here will be instantly transferable to the newer versions of Next if you're using the app router there. Okay, but I'm using this React Router 7, which is Remix, which we should also talk about, because where did Remix go, right? If you've heard about it, there's a whole website. In fact, you'll see that there's a Discord still open for that, right? And for a while, Remix was its own thing. Now, Remix is developed by the same people that do React Router. And what they found was, again, they had these two projects going on that were basically using each other's code, right? Or they were developing the same thing twice, once for React Router, once for Remix. And they finally said, no, we're done with that. Okay, so they brought them together into a single package, and now we have this. So if you're wondering what happened to Remix, this is it. Okay, the newest version of Remix is React Router 7. Okay, and it works almost exactly the same. We're going to add in a single package that's going to let us do some file-based routing, but here it is. Okay, now I do need to CD into this folder. So CD rest countries server, brilliant. Okay. And then we can take a look at this. Okay. Apparently I need to restart. I'm not doing that today, but right here, last time we created this Vite config file from scratch. Okay. This time it gives it to us. In fact, it gives us some extra stuff in here like Tailwind. I'm not using Tailwind today. If you are, that's okay. Leave it in there, but I'm just going to get rid of that because we don't need it. Okay. Or at least I don't need it. So there's that. It also imported React Router. React Router is the package instead of React. So we imported a package from Vite plugins, right? It was Vite plugin React. We use that. This time we just have React Router, which is awesome. Okay. TypeScript out of the box. Very nice stuff. We won't use it too much today, but I'll leave it in there. Okay. With that, we can go up to a new file, React Router config. Okay. This, we don't need to touch it, but it's very cool that we have this. And its only purpose for us today is this line here, SSR true. So server-side rendering, true. And the way that React Router works is if you don't have this, it will be client-side rendered. So adding this flips it, okay? And that's really the biggest change. Everything else is kind of the same as before. In fact, we could have just gone to our old client-side project and probably added this. And I'm pretty sure that it would have worked because this package is pretty solid like that, okay? But for now, it gives it to us, so we can totally do that. And then up here in app, we have all of our files. Now, I called this source last time because that's what I'm used to, but a lot of these systems are going to app, and that's okay, right? Naming things is interesting. It can be hard, it can be simple. They chose app this time, so we'll leave it there. Mostly because changing it is outside the scope of this video, okay? Inside of here, we have some routes. Right now, we just have one called home, and that shows up inside of this routes file, okay? So we, instead of doing it inside of our root component, now we have a file that points to these individual things. I don't really want to do it this way, okay? I don't want to be configuring these manually. Instead, I just want it to pick up on everything inside of this routes folder. So in order to do that, let's go back to the terminal and I'm going to install something, okay? npm install, and it is going to be at React Router. my fingers don't want to work right now. I don't know what was happening there, but fs routes, okay? At React Router / fs routes. We hit enter. Hopefully it installs fast. It does, okay? While I'm here, because cleaning up is good. Again, I'm not using Tailwind, so I'm just going to go and get rid of that, okay? If you are, again, leave it in. It's not a problem, okay? So right here, Tailwind CSS at Tailwind CSS / Vite, okay? We go and get rid of those. Brilliant, okay? So right here inside of package, we have that new file. We have a couple things that were deleted. All is good, okay? Now, in order to use this package, we are going to go to our routes, get rid of this array, okay? So gone, and type in flat routes. And you'll see that it wants to import already. So for me, this is brilliant. If it didn't do that for you, then you need to type this import statement, import flat routes from React Router FS routes. It's flashing a red line because I did not use this right. It needs to be called, okay? We don't pass in the function. We export the results of this function, okay? Everything else stays the same. We can get rid of index. We aren't using that anymore. Done, okay? Now, this is going to look inside of this routes folder, and whatever it finds there, it's going to create a route for it, okay? And we can see that way up here. Oh, wait. I should actually do one more thing, okay? This app.css, it's a whole lot of Tailwind. Again, doing a little bit of cleanup. So deleting that. And inside of my root, which we'll come back to in a second, I'm going to actually just comment that out, okay? Brilliant. These red lines, we'll get there, okay? That is coming. But let's go back here and run it. So npm run dev. It's going to take a second. We can click on this and it opens to nothing, as it should, because this is our index route. And right now we're looking for, well, we don't have an index, we have home. So if we go back to the code and go back to the browser and type /home, you will see all of that code. I haven't cleaned anything out of here except for the styles, but all that original code is still in there, okay? We would really like this to be at our index. So maybe we should rename this file to _index. And again, it's kind of going to complain because it can't find this, but it should still work. Let's refresh, and it does, okay? Again, this is because this needs to change. So I believe it needs to be _index like this, and then everything works. But I don't really want to do a lot of TypeScript today, okay? So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to rename this to .jsx just to simplify things. A bunch of stuff is going to go red. That's okay. Welcome can go away. Let's get rid of this for a second. Commenting it out and changing this welcome to be something else, okay? So this can be in H1, hello from index, okay? At that point, that should do it. It's screaming because I changed a bunch of stuff. But if you refresh, you get hello from index. Now, if we go here and type anything else, we get a 404. And that 404 is very interesting. This is one of the cool things about using this tool, okay? Because we haven't really looked at root yet, okay? Root has a bunch of stuff already done. In fact, what we can do, aside from deleting welcome, if you wanted to, delete, done. We can grab this commented code from our index file, cut it, and move it into the root. So right here, paste it in, uncomment it, changing some things. Come on, there we go. Didn't want to release my cursor for some reason. This can be countries or something more useful. This can be learn about countries, right? That seems logical. There we go. Save it. And now when we're over here, we can refresh. It updates the name. And if we go into our dev tools here, header, where is description, learn about countries, okay? So we can do that at a root level, at a page level, good stuff, okay? Other things that are in here, we're importing some fonts. We don't really need the fonts yet. We can do that, maybe change it later. We have our root layout. Again, this, you probably could break this out into its own thing, but for now they have it as a thing right in the root. So that's there. We have layout, and then we have the app. Okay, and here's that outlet again. We used that last time. That's how React Router knows where to put the contents of this file. Okay, slides it right into that outlet. That outlet gets used somewhere. Okay, it's basically joining these up. Okay. Down below, we have an error boundary, and this is where the 404 comes from, which is really, really nice. If you wanted to, you could customize your 404 to your heart's content. Awesome stuff, right? Really cool stuff there. They even have a code stack if you need it. Details, message, it's all in there, okay? But that's really not what we're here for. We're here for the routes, so let's go create a new one, okay? I'm going to go and grab the contents of home. I probably should rename this to index. That seems like a good name. And then routes, new file, and we need our details page. Before we used a colon, okay? We did colon ID. We can't do that with files because the colon represents a path marker for Linux systems, okay? So instead, we changed that to a $ID.jsx. Paste in the code, change this to details and details. Brilliant, okay? At this point, it should recognize things, which means that if we go back here, refresh it, now we get hello from details, right? Everything is coming along. We get rid of this again. Hello from index. It's all just working, which means that now we go to loaders, okay? And before we had some code. In fact, I can copy this straight out of my old project and paste it into index right here. And yeah, if you watch that video, you will have seen me type this out, okay? So this is our loader, okay? We do a fetch to the REST countries API. If it doesn't work, we throw an error. If it does, we return it, okay? And this is awesome. The only catch here now is that it must be loader, because the system is going to look for this, okay? There is another one called actions, I believe. That's where if you submit forms, right? If you're doing some form handling stuff, really awesome stuff. I really like, especially for this, for Remix and now React Router, I really like how they tried to embrace some of the browser's talents, okay? So the ability to click on a form, especially if JavaScript is off. We'll see that in a bit where I turn the JavaScript off and everything still works, okay? At least the basic functionality still works. But if you have a form and you click on it, or you click on a button and it sends the form off somewhere, right? You no longer need a form handler. Instead, you send it to the same page and the action picks that up, right? So really cool stuff. And then it funnels some of that information back into the page if you need it, okay? Really cool stuff, really cool. But for this, loader is where it's at. That's what we're using today. So that's what we're doing. And we get that into the page. Now, before we used a hook because it was client side. Now we actually get loader data, okay? And we can use that. So right down here, loader data dot map, because we already know it's an array from the previous stuff, okay? And right here we have country. We're going to do something with that, okay? Right here, we have an H2, right? And there was an A tag, but we don't want to use that A tag. We still want to use React Router. So instead we use link. Hopefully that imports for you. Okay. If it doesn't, be sure to type this first line. Okay. Import link from React Router. Closing it off, we can go country.name.common. Okay. Which gets us there. The link needs a 2. That 2 is going to be country.cca2.2 lowercase. Again, I did all of this in the previous video, so hopefully no surprises. Because we're mapping over stuff, we need a key, okay? And that key is going to be country.cca3, okay? Saving it all, going in, what is red? I'm missing something. Did I break it? What am I missing? Go and take a look. I forgot something. So right here. Oh, you know what it is? I bet it deleted the extra thing. Yeah, see? So when I was cleaning it up, it removed one of my parentheses. So that's on me. Okay. But here we are. We have it. Okay. If we click into any of these, it goes to my details page. Again, I have no way to get back to the details page. Let's go and do that. Okay. So over to ID, I have that loader again, straight from the previous project. This time we're getting that param, which is coming from ID. Because it's called ID, I use ID. Apparently I left the TypeScript in, get rid of that. Everything else is the same. So we're fetching from this alpha ID endpoint, throwing errors or not. Okay. Same thing, loader data. Okay. We bring it in. Let's add a div right here. Inside of there is capital L link from React Router. That is to the root route. Okay. Back. Yes. Getting out of the div. Here's our pre-tag, just like before. And we have JSON.stringify. Oh, spell it right. The data. Now remember, okay, this endpoint returns an array, and we only want the first item in there, okay? Because we always fetch by the ID. The ID should always be unique in this case. So in this case, we get loader data 0, okay? Because we're here, let's clean it up a little bit. Null to save, going back, okay? And you see that it's already updated, which is pretty awesome, okay? Getting rid of this, going back, scrolling way down, we got Jamaica, yes, okay? We can click in, we get it back, and it's working really good. At this point, if I wanted to waste your time, you could watch me again, bring in some components and set them up. But at this point, I could get to work, okay? Which means that everything is working. Now, the key becomes, what have we done? Why did we pick server side instead of client side? And if we take a look, view page source, not inspect, but view page source, I'm going to see something very different. Now, all of this is hot module refreshing, reloading, okay? It's doing some work there. We can skip that for now, but you will see all of our countries, okay? All of our different locations, they're all in here, and they are all ready to go. And that's how it will be if we build this project. We will get that information, which means search engines can do it. Or if we wanted to, we could go into here. Command-Shift-P brings up my dev palette or command palette for the dev tools. I can search for JavaScript. I can disable JavaScript, okay? And now right here, if I refresh it, it still works. I can click through, I can click back. In every case, it is a brand new request, okay? So the server is still running and all the data is coming through magically, okay? There's no JavaScript on this page because I disabled it, but it still works. And that that is a win in my books. Okay. Because some people don't want JavaScript, right? So we need to account for that. Now, I am going to go back here and turn that back on, just like this. Hit refresh. Everything's working. The other thing that I want to show you is under network. Okay. Now, if we go back here and I bring this up, you will remember, hopefully, that if I click into one of these, I get some content. Okay. But I also get right here. Okay. I get the data from my endpoint. And sometimes some of these endpoints, they need a special key that you need to hide, or you just want to hide where the data source is coming from for whatever reason. All that can be handled with server-side rendering. So if we go back to our code and do the same thing, I'm going to clear this out, go and find a page, Micronesia, okay? This time you'll see that we get a serialized data object. And this serialized data object came from our server. So our server sent the request, got the information, and then kicked it back to us. Okay. So kind of like a fetch, but at the end of the day, not really, because it's all happening through our server, which is pretty awesome. Okay. At this point, we could hide stuff, right? All of our keys are hidden. Our sources are hidden. If we needed to merge stuff, it's all happening on the server before it hits the browser, right? There's a lot to be gained this way. So a lot to learn about here, okay? The downside is that because it's server side, it needs a server, right? Like you can't really do this without a server. So that's going to limit where you host this, unfortunately, okay? There are ways. I think both Netlify and Vercel have a plugin for Remix that basically splits out all of your server stuff so that it can be run as serverless functions, which is really cool too. Okay. But if you wanted to, the best way would probably be like a droplet on DigitalOcean or something like that. Heroku, right? There are lots of options, but you do need one. Okay. Again, I'm not going to waste your time by bringing in all of my components, but you totally could, right? At this point, it's just React. So you can start bringing in that React stuff. It works exactly the same, right? There's no real change to what we've done here, and you can get into it. So let's review, okay? We started with a command. That command was, you won't see it here, but way up there, we installed with Vite React Router 7, okay? And React Router 7 is the new Remix. If you want to use file-based routing, you need to include that extra package, right? Which we did down here. So we included this one, React Router FS routes, which means that anything that I put into this routes folder pretty much becomes a route, okay? It'll pick up on those files and make them paths or pages in my website. Pretty cool stuff. Everything happens on the server side, which means that if JavaScript is disabled, I'm technically still running JavaScript on the server, but the browser will never know, okay? The browser doesn't really care what you use on the server, so long as it gets information, which is pretty awesome. So we created a few files. We created those loaders, again, pretty much just copy and pasted those in, and it all just works, okay? And of course, it comes with some benefits like the built-in 404 page. So lots to be had here, lots of cool stuff. Now, I am not done with this, okay? And what I mean by that is I still have one more video to go. We've covered off client-side routing. We've covered off server-side routing. I want to show static site generation, okay? And that's our third one, which means that when we do it, we build it, and it builds individual files for everything, which is pretty awesome, okay? That's the one that I like the most, because then it just works. You can actually put it on any server at that point, okay? Which is pretty amazing. So that will be coming. Definitely like and subscribe so that you get that video. Comment, let me know what you think of all this. And yeah, I will see you in the next one.